Hi, this is a quick recording in setting up and creating resources that are assignable within ClubSoft. So here we're in the configuration settings of the application, and you'll notice there's two tabs at the top. One's called categories, one called resources. Resources are individual items such as slips, and those can be assigned to a specific category. So here I can go in and I click add a new resource. I can do that here. I can associate it to a specific category. I can select the size, and then I can determine the reoccurring billing. So if I go back to categories, I have a general parking and a moorage. So general parking we'll talk about in a second, but we're going to click edit for my moorage. So once I'm in the editor, I can create a category name, a description, I can choose an icon, and then I can determine whether the moorage is individually assigned or if it has resources associated with it. So my general parking is assigned to a category. So a variety of members can be assigned to general parking and not necessarily assigned to a specific spot. Enable timeline view allows me to have a nice view like this within the application, and then it'll show on the calendar subleases or temporarily assigned spots. I can also require a registered item. So when a user is assigned a spot or registered to a spot, it will require them to have a registered item. I can limit one spot per member, so a member can only be assigned to one space. I can also prompt to add a registered item when assigning. So on this screen here, I've started the assignment process, and you'll notice that I got a pop-up that says I need to add a registered item. Finally, assignment notifications. So this is internal communication for checkout notices, messages, and other club notifications that get sent to a member or a staff member. And then finally, I can determine which registered item type I want linked to this resource. So if I want to switch it to RV, I would do that here. But in my case, I'm going to keep it at boat. Finally, I can have the available spots show on the dashboard. Next, we'll talk about sizes. So here, this is where you would set the different sizes for the different boat slips that you may have. And then files, this is where you would upload your moorage agreement. And then if you require them to automatically sign a e-signature document, when they are assigned a spot, they will automatically get a link to the e-signature document to sign. Finally, the fun part, assigning and creating a moorage map. So you can go here to click upload, and then once you're ready, you go into customize, and this is where you can add each of your individual resources to this spot. So if I click A12 and I want A12 right here, I would click place and add it there. If I want to drag A13, I can drag. Finally, over here, you can select the shape of the icons. You can also set the availability. So availability added that little circle. So if I take show availability off, it removes that circle. And then I can have the legend show on the map. So once I'm finished with the map, it should look something like this. And I would have all of my spots that are there once I'm done editing my map. Waiting lists. This is where you would enable whether your club has waiting lists for this resource category type. So I can enable resources. I can allow users to be on multiple waiting lists. I can allow joining waiting lists while they are assigned to a spot. And then we can auto notify a member when their position changes. We can also auto remove a member when they are assigned a spot. Sublease. This allows you to go into the application and assign a sublease. So in my case, we can click here, we can assign a spot, we can sublease a spot, or we can temporarily assign. I can also add a user to a waiting list, and that's all done through the resource page. Subleasing, I can set a price for each of the sublease spaces, and then determine whether I want to charge sales tax or not. Check in and check out. This allows the user to check in and out of a spot on their profile. It also allows temporary assignment. So when this is selected, a user can be temporarily assigned a spot. And then I can set the daily price. And so when a user is temporarily assigned, they'll automatically receive an invoice for that temporary assignment. And then I can determine whether I want temporary assignment only when a user is checked out. So if all of my spots are taken and I don't want a user to be able to use another person's slip without the user checking in and out, they would need to do that from their profile. Finally, internal communications for check-in and check-out messages. That is done here. So when a user decides to check out of their space, I can have Chris Matthews get an email notification. Finally, charging sales tax. So that can be enabled here. And access. This allows certain member types to where they cannot be assigned a Moorage slip unless they are a regular member. Or if you want it to where all members can get it, you would just select all. And that is the category editor within ClubSoft. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our support department.